Even from a hillside overlooking Hebron's old city, it's clear that this is an ancient place rich in human heritage, but also visible the fault lines of human conflict. According to the traditions of the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity and Islam, Abraham himself, along with his wife, his sons and their wives, are buried in the caves above which the Ibrahimi mosque now stands. Since Israel occupied the West Bank in 1967, Jews and Muslims have prayed here, separately, divided. Over the past 25 years, the division has deepened. On the Muslim side, the call to prayer requires an Israeli soldier to unlock a door. Israeli army cameras survey the interior. The mosque's imam says more than half of what he describes as an exclusively Muslim site has been cut off.
Muslims totally reject the division, which isn't meant for protection. The real protection comes from the fact that this is an old Islamic mosque and the settlers need to leave.
On the 25th of February 1994, an American-Israeli far-right settler, Baruch Goldstein, entered the mosque during prayers and started shooting. He killed 29 worshippers and wounded nearly 200. He himself was chased down and beaten to death. The violence that Baruch Goldstein unleashed here may have been over in a matter of minutes, but its consequences are still deeply felt. This was a seismic event in the history of this town, and from the epicenter here, the fissures of that, politically, psychologically, physically, have spread out throughout Hebron. The immediate military lockdown, forcing the Palestinian market to close amid other restrictions, was followed by the Hebron Agreement of 1997. 80% of the city is known as H1, mostly the urban sprawl of the West Bank's main economic center under the Palestinian Authority. The remaining 20%, home to several hundred Israeli settlers and 40,000 Palestinians, became H2 under Israeli military control. The illegal settlements have swollen, attracting some of the most right-wing settlers in the occupied West Bank. Some 800 are now registered as living here. The criss-cross, intimate nature of the division heightens the friction. Hebron is often a flashpoint of violence. Jews here remember an earlier massacre in 1929 when 67 people were killed, the small Jewish community forced from the city. For Baruch Rachamim, what's happening now is a religious and historical homecoming under the protection of the Israeli army.
They're just doing their job to try to keep the tension down, because without them it would probably be much more tense. So we see them as the positive presence.
A few meters away, a very different perspective. Randa Gaith has seen her home and her freedoms ever more constricted for the last 2 years by a reinforced fence and a gate that soldiers can lock at any time.
We used to come and go. Now they have us in a circle, strangling us. We say prisoners are in prison, but we're in a larger one.
25 years on from one of the deadliest days in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, its legacy is undimmed in the daily reality of hostility, dispossession and division. Harry Fawcett, Al Jazeera, Hebron in the occupied West Bank.